First of all, I want to wish everyone a happy, prosperous, healthy, peaceful New Year. That's all the niceties out of the way. But I want to talk about our movement. I want to talk about the UK. I want to talk about the world in general, and I'm just doing this totally off the cuff, guys. So as things come into my head, I'm going to say them. First thing, I think, in terms of the movement, I think we're getting to a stage now where, and when I'm talking about the movement, I'm talking about the Unite the Kingdom movement, the people that have signed the pledge, that broad coalition of people on the right that goes from UKIP through to Reform. Anything to the right of UKIP, I don't want to know about. Anything to the left of Reform, I'm not interested in because it's not relevant. So it's that broad movement. And I think one of the things that really spoke to me last year, and it was only a few weeks this year, we're still in 2024 when I'm making this video, you'll probably watch it in 2025, was Nick Buckby. And Nick, I'm reading through your book. I'm reading another book by Brendan O'Neill at the minute about the pogrom in Israel in 2023, but I'm reading your book as well about England, and I'm enjoying it. But one of the things that Nick said when we were talking to on Paul's channel, he said, what is needed is a grand coalition. And I haven't got that out of my head, because I don't think, and actually I suppose when I'm talking about people that we could stand with people on the right of the Conservative Party. But I don't think there's any one political party that answers all the questions that have been put before us. As you know, I'm a member of UKIP. I support UKIP. I'm on the NEC of UKIP. I support Nick's leadership. But UKIP hasn't got all the answers. Reform certainly doesn't have all the answers. And the right wing of the Tory party don't have all the answers. We've got Ben Habib on the outside. We've got lots of other people who have got great skills and abilities, politicians like Andrew Bridgen, loads of other people I'm not going to mention by name, but there's a lot of very, very talented and very intelligent people in this overall movement. And I would say probably we could get people like Dominic Cummings in, Douglas Murray. Who knows who might actually get into the battle in the next few years. Matt Goodwin's another one. So there's loads and loads of talented people, and obviously Farage and people right the way through the spectrum. Suella Braverman's gone very, very quiet. So there's a lot of good people that I think pretty much believe what we believe, and that fall into that idea, or those ideas that we put forward in the pledge. And I would suggest, if you haven't seen the pledge, go to thepledge.org.uk, have a look at it. If you like what we're saying, sign it. We're up to about 60,000 signatures on that document at the minute, and what we'll be doing in the new year, we'll probably starting to contact people relevant to their postcodes, so that we'll be contacting people by area and see if we can get people to organise in their areas and that sort of thing. But that's for the future. We haven't made any decisions on that yet, so I don't want to jump the gun. So we've got the pledge and the Unite the Kingdom movement. I see this movement sitting above politics. It's apolitical in the sense that it's not party political. Obviously, I'm party political, but I don't see the pledge and the Uniting the Kingdom movement. And again, I don't want to speak for Tommy. He's in prison. The last time I spoke to him was over a month ago, so he may well have changed his mind. But my feeling from speaking to Tommy was, he's sitting there, he's watching, he knows what he believes politically, he knows where he stands politically, and if anybody has any doubts about that, there's years of content that very, very clearly puts Tommy in the civic nationalist position. He's not judging people on their race, their culture. He's judging people really on whether they're patriotic and they support the United Kingdom and they love whatever part of the United Kingdom they live in, whether it's England, Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland. And that idea of civic nationalism is something that I buy into as well. I think it's the only way to go. It means that, when you've got people, we've got a guy from Wales that started coming to our demos. He's a Muslim guy. He's had a terrible time for associating with us, but he's standing there and saying, look, I believe in the United Kingdom. It's given me all these opportunities. I love the United Kingdom. Very patriotic guy. So I'm not going to turn around and say, well, he's not welcome at our events. He's not welcome in our country. How can anybody say that? So it's a very, very wide bracket of people that come to our events from lots and lots of different backgrounds that are very annoyed with the socialists, with the globalists, with the Islamists and with the fascists, because we are a tolerant people. Our nation has always been a tolerant nation, and we're not a nation that's given to religious extremism. Last time we had religious extremism, it ended in a civil war, and of course we've seen what religious extremism has done through the Middle East in the past, well, 1,500 years. Let's just be completely truthful about that. So the British people are tolerant people, and I think that's where our position is. We're not saying you have to do this, you have to do that. We're saying you have to love the country and you have to love each other and you have to integrate. And I did a video yesterday where I talked about division and diversity, not being our strength, diversity being our weakness. And I believe that because diversity, the word gives it away. It means division. It means you divide people up into their little subsects, let them grow up, live in their silos, never mix, never integrate, do what you want as long as you don't bother us. That's not working. And we can see it's not working from the grooming gang scandals, from the terrorist attacks that we've had, from the intercommunal violence that we've had in places like Leicester. So there needs to be a policy of integration where people are taught British history properly and realise that, I'm not sure who it was said it, I mean, Tommy says it a lot in his videos, but when you are born an Englishman, a Scotsman, a Northern Irishman, or even an Irishman or a Welshman, you're winning the lottery of life to a great extent, or you were until very, very recently. And obviously we're now sitting with massive problems with mass immigration, illegal immigration, and all the issues that come with that. So that sets the scene, I think, of where we're at the end of 2024. We've got a mass influx of people coming into the country who, let's be honest, aren't welcome. They're coming here illegally. They're not coming here to give anything to the country. They're coming here to sponge off the country. And we don't want them. We don't want illegals coming into this country and taking up hospital beds, taking up dentist chairs, taking benefits, taking accommodation, taking money that taxpayers have paid into the system, taking money away from pensioners, taking money away from people who need it, putting the government into a position where they're raising taxes and they're taxing us all to death to pay for these people to come and live in hotels. That's got to stop, and it has to stop right now, and there has to be mass deportations of illegal migrants that have come here with no other purpose than to sponge off the system. They all need to go. Anybody that's come to the country and is deliberately trying to subvert the country through whatever form of politics it is, whether it's extreme left-wing politics that is constantly attacking the nation state, constantly attacking the history of the United Kingdom, constantly attacking the history of Britain. What if you hate the country so much? Why stay here? Go to a communist country like North Korea or China and make your home there if you want your little socialist utopia. We don't want socialism in this country, and the sooner we get this socialist government out of power, the better. The Islamists are the same. You're not going to get Sharia law in this country, but the sad thing is there are already Sharia courts. So what the state has allowed is a slow strangulation of the British legal system, and it's subversion by Sharia courts. It's subversion by people getting into the civil service who have an agenda. It's subversion by Islamist MPs getting elected to Westminster. All of these things are totally toxic, and all these things are very, very dangerous. So where does it leave the movement in 2025? As you know, we're having a mass event on the 1st of February. We're going to be gathering to stand for the prisoners. We're going to be gathering to stand for Tommy specifically because of his wrong categorization. And I believe deliberate use of the judiciary, of the legal system in lawfare to lock him up, to silence him, to get him off the streets. Ever since we had that mass demonstration in October, when was it? October 2023? Yeah, October 2023. The state has been coming down on Tommy like a ton of bricks because they're terrified, because they saw what we did. I think it was about 2 weeks. We managed to mobilise at least 10,000 people, and we didn't give the police any warning, I don't think. I think we just turned up and did what we were going to do. And all we went there for was to say, look, we can put massive numbers of boots on the ground if we feel that our culture, particularly our remembrance weekend. And that was threatened by the jihadist, Hamas supporting left-wing and Islamist hate marches that were going through London, calling for the death of millions of Jews in Israel with their chants from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which means a genocidal attack on the Israeli state and a killing of every single Jew that lives there, or at least an expulsion of them. And of course that's supposed to be acceptable in the 21st century. It's never acceptable, you know. And the poison that's come out of that, and the way it's poisoned political discourse, the way they intimidated politicians last year when they literally surrounded Parliament and intimidated MPs into voting a certain way, was absolutely chilling. And there's a lot of very worrying things happen. We've seen all the two-tier policing. I expect that to continue in 2025. We've obviously seen Tommy in prison for 18 months in the most horrendous circumstances, and we're going to keep the pressure on. We're going to keep protesting about that. But what about the pledge, the Unite the Kingdom movement, this idea of a grand coalition? How does that work, and what does it look like? Well, the pledges are very simple, and that's why it's such genius. The pledge is so simple. You go onto the website, you sign up, you give your name, your postcode, not your full postcode, just the beginning of your postcode, your name, email address, postcode, and mobile number if you want to. And what we'll do, like I said earlier, we'll be keeping in touch with the people. But please go to the pledge and read it. The Uniting the Kingdom rallies in September of next year. We're going to have an absolutely huge freedom rally under the banner of Uniting the Kingdom. And we want everybody that loves freedom to come, irrespective of your political background, to be brutally honest with you. If you're on the left and you want to fight for freedom, there's no reason why you shouldn't stand with us. If you're in the middle and you want to fight for freedom, there's no reason that you shouldn't stand with us. If you're black, white, brown, yellow, pink, whatever colour you are, we don't care. If you believe in freedom, get there. There's going to be, I think there's going to be some very big names there. I've heard some of the names that Tommy was mentioning when I visited him in prison, and you know, if those people turn up, it's going to be an event that's going to be well worth going to. But as well as that, we've also got the court case. Now, if I get this wrong, I apologise. If someone can go and Google it and make sure I'm saying the right thing, because again, I'm just doing this completely off the cuff. We've got the court case for the completely fake terrorist charges. So 20th, I think it's the 20th of March, Tommy's due to appear in court, and obviously, you know, it's very, very concerning. And we want to make sure that he has a good crowd supporting him outside the court on the 20th of March. So that's another thing I just want to throw in there. So for the movement, I think that's about it. Obviously, we've got all the flux with the political parties. We've got all the toing and froing. We've got the whole situation with Reform, where Reform is still doubling down on not really welcoming anybody from Tommy's side of the movement. You know, if you were in the For Britain party, which again was not an ethno-nationalist party, it was a civic nationalist party that dealt very, very clearly, very forcefully with the threat from radical Islam, or fundamentalist Islam, as Ben Habib calls it. And the For Britain party is one of the prescribed parties on the Reform list of parties that if you've ever been in, you know, in the last 100 years, you can't join their party. And all the while they've had, you know, extremists have managed to get under the wire and get into their party, you know, and I think they ended up getting Hope Not Hate to vet all the candidates by default. They published the list of candidates, and Hope Not Hate came back and said, no, we don't like that one, we don't like that one. And well, the rest is history. What more can I say? But here's the thing, despite all that, I still think there needs to be a grand coalition from UKIP, the right wing of the Tory party, Reform, Ben Habib, other leading political figures, commentators, need to come together and need to work out how we're going to save this country, because we've got a hell of a job on our hands. Trump is in a position where he might be able to do it, but Trump hasn't done it yet. Trump's won those elections, he's won big majorities, but he has not saved America yet. He hasn't even taken office yet. We've got, 3.5, 4 years to do something completely miraculous. That's why the pledge is so important, because what the pledge will do, because it's a codified ideology, it'll hold all these parties and groups to account if they sign them. And if they don't sign them, we've got to ask a big question: why haven't they signed it? When you look up the ideas and doctrines that are basically in the pledge. So there needs to be a coming together at a high level, but there needs to be coming together at ground level. And Liam Tufts, I was watching his Christmas video, and I was very impressed with it. His Christmas video was very short. Mine are not so short at the minute. His Christmas video was very short, but what he said in it was so profound. He said, we've got to put aside petty little differences and come together. And coming together is not grudgingly coming together. We've got to come together. We've got to start getting on. We've got to start nurturing our friendships and stand together. Because infighting and squabbling and backbiting and digging people out is completely the opposite of what's going to build a movement. That's going to tear a movement apart. We've got to welcome new people into the movement. Lots of new people coming in. We don't know them. Well, the only way to get to know people is to talk to them. Pick up the phone. If you're at an event, you see someone new that you've never seen there before, go and talk to them, welcome them in. And of course, a lot of people, understandably, are worried about infiltrators either from the far right, entryists trying to get their way into the movement and drag people down that road, and also far left infiltrators from groups like Hope Not Hate, and also government infiltrators that might want to destabilise what we're doing. The reality is we can't do anything about that. I watched a documentary years ago about Arthur Scargill and the miners' strike. And Scargill was being interviewed by, it wasn't about that, it was actually about, the documentary was actually about MI5 and how MI5 infiltrated groups that they considered to be subversive. Now, if you remember the miners' strike in the 1980s, it was a very, very subversive time. And Thatcher obviously set MI5 on the miners. And according to this documentary, and these people, most of them confessed to it, when they were put on the spot by the reporter. Everybody on the NUM sort of inner council, they had this sort of group that ran the NUM, the National Union of Mine Workers. Everybody except Arthur Scargill was basically working for MI5. Now, obviously, our group's going to be no different. The security services, because the Labour Party particularly will see us as subversive. They'll be tarring us as far-right lunatics like they do all the time, even though we're not. But they will have the security services probably listening to our phones, probably getting people to infiltrate our groups. And quite often it'll be the most surprising people who'll be the infiltrators, because they'll be the ones that you least suspect. So, but you can't be paranoid. And the reality is, because we're not doing anything illegal, we're not planning anything subversive, what we're trying to do is build a political movement and a cultural movement that will take our country back peacefully and through the democratic process. These groups and the security services should not even be looking at us. In fact, they should actually be helping us. The state should be helping us. But of course, the state is terrified of us because they know that our agenda is to win the next election with whatever mechanism we have, whether it's an amalgamation of UKIP, Reform, the Tories and Ben Habib and loads of other really good, clever people. This grand coalition, the state will be terrified of that because they know that if we win, we will have the British peoples, all the British people, all the genuinely patriotic, nation-loving British people from whatever background, we will have their best interests at heart as a movement. And that terrifies, and that's why Tommy's sitting in prison, because the state is terrified of him. So getting back to the point was we need to come together in unity. Don't worry about if people are infiltrating. Let them do what they want. We're not doing anything illegal. We're not doing anything that they can drag us through the courts for. We are standing for our country. We're standing against tyranny. We're standing against the communists, the globalists, the Islamists and the fascists. We are the people in the sweet spot. We are the people with good on our side, with God on our side. We are the people that are doing the right thing. So we've got to come together. We've got to work together. We've got to be a team. We've got to be team players. We've got to be humble enough to forgive each other where we've had fallings out and stand together and make this thing work. Because I'll be honest with you, I've been doing this for 7 years, and the amount of infighting there's been in that 7 years, the amount of people that fall out with each other, and I've been a cause of it as much as anyone. We've all played our part in, not being as kind to each other as we should be. And I think that's what Liam said, something like that. He said, just be nice to each other, just be kind to each other. And I agree with that 100%. That's what we've got to do. Stop being suspicious of people. If people are going to come in and try and wreck everything, well, it'll become very obvious, because they'll be the ones that are sowing the division, that are causing the upset and causing the dramas, are going to be the ones that I would always suspect have been nefarious players. And sometimes we just do it ourselves because we're stupid and arrogant and full of pride. I'm talking about me as well as anyone else. So let's come together. Let's fight for our country. Let's win our country back. Time's running out to do this properly, peacefully through the democratic process. If we're not in a position as a movement, and when I'm talking about the movement, I'm not talking about one party, I'm not talking about reform, I'm not talking about UKIP, I'm talking about the movement as a whole, because that's what we need. We need to bring all these groups and parties together somehow into one cohesive grand coalition. If we don't do that in the next 2 years, all is lost. And I mean that. So this year coming up is crucial. Tommy's going to be coming out of prison. Hopefully, if we can get him recategorised, he'll come out early. But we'll see. We don't know yet. He's coming out of prison. There's going to be a massive event in September of next year. We've got his court case. I think it's the 20th of March. We've got the event on the 1st of February. We've got to fight this, and we've got to win it. Because if we don't win it, all is definitely lost. And it's up to us. This is our time. This is our time to win our country back, win our nation back. When we've got the tools, we've got the pledge, we've got the Unite the Kingdom movement, we've got the political parties, we've got the ideology, we've got the manpower. What we need to do is have unity. We really do need to unite the kingdom, and we need to unite together with each other. Put everything aside that's gone on in the past. That's my plea for 2025. And let's do what needs to be done and win our country back. See you all soon. Happy New Year.